Ever since the release of the world's first tablet PC by Microsoft, the tablet industry has developed at such a fast pace that is almost comparable to that of the smartphone industry. Both devices share a lot in common after all. A majority of consumers view tablets as this sort of hybrid between a laptop and a smartphone with a large display. And although that isn't exactly a wrong comparison by any means, tablets have this one exclusive feature that enables them to hold a place of their own, that being the stylus. Sure, more and more laptops these days, most notably the ones from Microsoft and Samsung, are getting their own styluses. Even some lower-end smartphones are getting styluses too, namely the newly released Moto G stylus. Of course, we all know that Samsung's Note lineup has been around for quite some time as well. However, the truth still remains that the more spacious displays found on tablets and their larger styluses ensure that the tablets are still the way to go if you're seriously into note-taking or digital art. That begs the question, what is the best tablet out there for students? Or rather, what makes a tablet suitable for use in the average classroom setting? Most major players in the tablet market, if not all, would probably tell you that it should act as a laptop replacement. And yeah, I see where they're coming from. The ease of just chucking your tablet into your bag and not having to worry about bringing along a wall charger definitely makes tablets more favorable than laptops for students. However, all things considered, a tablet is still just a tablet. Whether it's the less superior hardware or even the software limitations, the tablet market just isn't there yet. Set all those differences aside, however, and accept the tablet for what it is, and you get a device such as the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. Unlike some offerings from Microsoft, Apple, or even Samsung, the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite sticks to the fundamentals of a tablet. It comes included with an S Pen, which in all honesty was an enjoyable stylus to use. I found the pen to be comfortable to write with, whether it be taking notes during class, using it as your keyboard input device, or even some light sketching on the go. This time around, the S Pen doesn't have a built-in battery, unlike the fully fledged Galaxy Tab S6. This means two things for us. First off, there's no need to charge it. As such, you can jot down notes for as long as you want, as long as the tablet itself doesn't run out of battery. The second change that this brings about isn't the most favorable to us users, and that is the way you store this S Pen. Some of you may prefer this new method by which you slap the S Pen onto the side of the device when you're not using it. The magnets should theoretically hold it in place. However, during my testing, I have found the side-mounted magnets to be not as attractive. I'm not sure if it's the placement of these magnets, but it just doesn't attach as easily, and doesn't stay there very firmly either. This is no longer a problem if you purchase the official book cover sold separately, since it has a dedicated compartment for the S Pen, which thankfully works 10 times better. However, the sheer fact that you have to shell out on yet another accessory just to have a usable place to store the S Pen just doesn't cut it for me. If I had not purchased this book cover, I would have much preferred the divot on the back of the larger Tab S6. We're gonna breeze through display and performance because there's plenty of reviews out there that cover these aspects in more detail. From a student's point of view, the display is perfectly usable, though don't expect it to support HDR10, top-of-the-line refresh rates, nor resolution, cause this tablet has none of that. It's a generic 10.4-inch TFT LCD display with a resolution of 2000 by 1200. If you're sitting at the window seat of your classroom, you may have to crank up the brightness to max. Performance-wise, the tablet feels a tad sluggish while navigating through the user interface, but it's definitely decent enough for daily tasks, or even some light gaming. Just don't expect it to be editing videos or running PUBG Mobile with the maximum settings at 60 FPS. In terms of software, I've always been a huge fan of skinned Android, but I'm sure One UI 2.1 won't be for everyone. Even I'm not that big of a fan of the sheer amount of bloatware on this device. For instance, there's this charging screensaver app pre-installed that pops up every time you plug in your tablet. It's stuff like this that ruins the user experience. Let's get back to the positive side of things. The design is on point. The slab of metal and glass screams premium around every corner. The material for the optional book cover doesn't have as much of a premium feeling, but the device itself is definitely exceptionally well crafted. It looks and feels the part, and I would probably still believe it, even if I were told that it was a top-of-the-line flagship device, despite its smaller footprint. Now, we get to the two biggest gripes I have with this tablet. These, or rather the absence thereof, might not bother you as much, but for me, the lack of Samsung DeX, Samsung's dedicated desktop mode, and no available official keyboard cover are almost deal breakers. Sure, there are alternatives to both of these. You could use a Windows-style Android launcher and get a third-party keyboard, such as this Targus one that Samsung seems to be pushing forward in select markets or even Logitech offerings. Those should get the job done, right? The thing is, it does just that, nothing more. Whereas Samsung DeX is well optimized for Samsung devices, which is also the case for official keyboard covers, third-party offerings can never be as good as what the company itself rolls out. And while I haven't had the chance to try out the Targus keyboard cover, what I can tell you is the price, which is basically the price of an official keyboard cover. Like I said in the beginning, a tablet works best as a tablet, but it's always good to have the options. In this case, Samsung decided not to give us the option not to save costs, but to differentiate the Lite model with its larger sibling. But for everyone else who doesn't need the laptop functionality, the Tab S6 Lite is a great multimedia consumption device, and should work well enough for an average student. Thanks for watching. This has been Jin from Galaxy Tab TV, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.